Hello and welcome to another episode of the SEO Unplugged podcast. I'm your host, Itamar Blauer. Today I'm joined with Guifre Ballester, who is the staff product manager at SE Ranking. Guifre, good to see you. How are you?
Hello, Itamar. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Great to have you here. And I think what a great topic for today's conversation, which is causing up quite a storm in the SEO world and in the technological digital world in general, which is MCP. So today we're going to be talking about MCP for SEO workflows specifically. And obviously, as somebody who I've spoken to before this recording about this sort of stuff, and I know you have a lot of knowledge and have been really sort of diving into this particular topic. So if we can maybe get started from the beginning, what the hell does MCP mean and what does it actually do?
Thank you for the introduction, Itamar. So yeah, I would describe MCP as basically as a framework that Anthropic created in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, 2024. Sorry, and basically it's a way for a standard for LLMs to be able to interact with APIs. There is a mix of feelings between people saying MCPs are not needed, but because you can always use the underlying API, right? But MCPs are helping a lot in order to reduce the amount of tokens needed in order to reach an objective and the time to get that objective, right? So in order for LLMs to consume trustworthy data, MCP is the way. And when we are talking about SEO and data is something that it's a must-have, right? Otherwise, there are hallucinations, or you don't know if a keyword, for example, has enough traffic volume for you in order to actually optimize it for, right? So in the SEO industry, having trustworthy data is a must. So that's a really good pair.
For sure. So yeah, MCP, Model Context Protocol, this is this type of technology. And I assume a lot of people won't really know that it was Anthropic who sort of like was the one to initiate this thing in the first place. And like you say, for the SEO industry, having accurate data is always going to be your best bet, because when you rely on a lot of people before this type of technology existed, when LLMs were very fresh and people were wondering if they could, pretty much just ask an LLM to do keyword research for it or to do many different SEO tasks for it. And then they would realize that there would always be an answer that would be given, but that wouldn't necessarily be rooted in actual data or accurate data for that time period, to say the least. So from your perspective, and specifically within SE Ranking, what are some really cool things that people can do using MCP for their workflows?
I would say there are 5 different lenses on the MCP, right? The typical jobs that you do as a SEO, you can do them with the MCP. Basically, there is one side about research, right? When you are first working for a new domain, you want to understand a little bit the metrics, number of keywords they are ranking for, how many keywords they are ranking in positions 1 to 5, for example, number of backlinks, right? Or sub-pages that are actually ranking, subdomains, and all this information, right? This would be a little bit the discovery phase. So you can do that first step in order to get in touch with a domain. Then I would say this is the very beginning. Then you should move towards automation, where that means like, okay, you are working actively with a domain, but you also want to be notified if things stop working as expected, right? So for us, this is like project management, something that you want to be notified, something that you want to understand if things are working as expected. And then there is the typical link building. Everything around SEO, it's about being ranked in Google. Google in 1099 they shipped the PageRank paper, right, which basically is a way to scrap the whole web and ranking based on the number of backlinks. So you also want to do a link building strategy. So you can use the MCP in order to understand who is actually has which backlinks has your competitors and which are worth for you to pursue as well, right? And then there is about, okay, as part of the SEO, if you're an agency, you would like to actually grow in the number of people who discover your site and the number of authority that you have, right? So a fourth job that we usually describe is about demand generation or landing pages, right? If you offer SEO as part of an agency, there is a really good play that it's about, okay, we provide you a landing page where we run you a SEO job for your site, and then you give us your email, and in exchange we give you some results, and that's part of the demand generation side. So many of our customers are saying, okay, we know what we do in the SEO because we are able to provide these you kickoff starters, right? And then fifth would be about empowering your user base, all your employees, in order to be able to play with SEO data. We have groups of some companies with 20 to 100 people who are actively using SEO ranking MCP in order to get data, manage their projects, everything with natural language, right? They don't even need to understand how our tool works, because they know as a SEO what they want. They speak with Claude, they speak with ChatGPT, explaining, okay, I want to track this keyword on a daily basis. With this simple answer, with this simple question, the LLM knows how to interact with our API and how to actually make things work. So those are usually the 5 different jobs that we help our customers give an answer.
Sure, and obviously one of the key benefits is something you mentioned just there, of people who don't necessarily want to, let's say, interact with the tool itself, but rather know what type of analysis or insights or data they need, and then are able to, in natural language, basically ask and say, I'm looking for this particular solution, provide this, and then it will go into the tool and access all the relevant features and all the relevant things and capabilities of the tool, like SE ranking, to then be able to come up and provide on an answer that would be the data that you would see if you actually went into the tool and then clicked around to find it yourself. So with this comes the efficiency, right? But I guess the question for many people who maybe aren't as familiar or want to start out, how do they go ahead about the setup for this? What do people need to be able to set themselves up within this environment of using an MCP?
So first, you go and you choose your LLM of choice, right? Right now, everybody is always, before it was only ChatGPT, but since December 2025, I would say Anthropic has done an amazing job, and everybody's talking about cloud. So I would pick between those two, because they support the MCP framework, and the connectivity with the different tools available, right, is really, really large. So I would say we start picking an LLM. In my preference, I would go with Claude, and then you need to add the MCP for the tools that you want to access. In this case, imagine that for SEO, we pick SEO ranking. SEO ranking has a one-liner, which is one URL. You go to Anthropic, you add connector, and with the single line, you already are connected with SEO ranking. You don't need to understand what are API keys. You don't need to understand which endpoints we offer. Anything. You simply copy paste one URL, paste it into Claude, and it's already connected. So I would say the experience is quite straightforward.
And how would you describe in terms of usage of MCP? Because you'll have, for tools, for SEO tools in particular, you have a particular tier or a plan that you're on. How does it work in terms of when you're connected up using MCP for a tool like SE ranking? What does it mean in terms of usage, and what should people sort of keep an eye out in terms of like to make sure that they're sort of like within the realm of, so they're not limited or they don't feel like they don't have access to certain things? How does that process work?
Amazing. Thank you for the question. So in SE ranking, we believe that in the future, everybody is going to be using LLM in order to execute their own work, right? That means that all of our brands have access to the MCP and to the API in different tiers. But from the very beginning, we wanted to empower customers to actually adopt this new way of working. Okay, so all of our plans include access to the MCP and also trials, which are 14 days free trials. You can be using all the tools in our suite using the MCP as well. We have different ways to understand the consumption, right, in order to prevent incorrect behaviors and in order to have tiers for each of the different users. So we offer you credits in order for you to be able to understand how much usage you are doing, right? In SE ranking, these credits are offered 100,000 credits for trial users, which would enable you to actually done around 10,000 domain lookups. For example, you can review around 1,000 different, 20,000 different keywords, and so on. So it's a good amount of things that you can do during those 2 weeks, right? So then you are set up, and you can start getting insights from the SEO. And I would say that, okay, you have connected SEO ranking, right? But you want the best possible results. And we have enabled you to do that using our skills. We have created the skills package, which is a way for you to actually use our tool as we would do, right? So SEO ranking has a ton of expertise in the SEO. And we have said, okay, many of our customers are asking for content generation, but with 10, 20, 100 different prompts, one of each different every time, right? But we have had our internal SEO team curate a set of prompts in order to always deliver the best experience to the user, right? Those are enabled using cloud skills, and it is as well with one URL that you copy paste, and you have access to, for example, 24 skills from SE ranking, and this ensures that you have the best possible output for your users. And from a content generation perspective, I have to say the experience is marvelous. Is amazing, because you usually start the prompt like, okay, act as a SEO professional. I want to have a content generation for this keyword and so on, but you usually cannot provide a lot of context, right? If you use our skills, you will see that the outputs that you are getting are 10x in terms of quality. So I completely recommend doing that.
Okay, amazing. And something I wanted to touch on as well is the concept of the different SEO workflows that you can do using an MCP. So my question is, in terms of the most powerful types of usage that you can have, what do you sort of find? Because I know at the beginning you mentioned sort of 5 different lenses of looking at the capabilities. What's the sort of really main things that you think using the MCP is able to sort of really help in terms of either efficiency or the quality of SEO output for practitioners? What do you find is one of the sort of top use cases that before, without this tech, would have been quite tedious or manual or maybe not as efficient? Or what's your take on that?
One of the use cases that many of our customers are doing are about content generation, right? So if we analyze content generation, it's about you need to understand your domain, you need to understand competitors, the keywords that everybody is ranking for, the things that, where is the low-hanging fruit, right? In terms of difficulty, in terms of search volume, in terms of the intent of the user, in terms of what you actually offer, the things that you can do that. And then whenever you have identified the low-hanging fruit, you want to understand which kind of HTML pages are ranking in Google, right? So there is a ton of different things. So for content generation, MCP helps a lot because you can do all these things one after the other, and you don't need to open Google Sheets, you don't need to go for Google search You don't need to do all these things one after the other, manual, and just shuffling all these tools. You give MCP an objective, like I want to generate content, a blog post for this keyword, for example, and this is going to even do content, keyword similarities, keyword related questions, long tails, and this is going to do all the analysis, then evaluate how competitors are ranking for, and the experience is superb. So I would really recommend anyone to start with content generation, because the experience is, the output is the H1s, the H2s, the descriptions, the traffic estimations. This is an amazing job. In 12 minutes, I would say, we are getting that.
Amazing. And is this related to the skills that you were mentioning before? That's like a Claude specific type of feature for the content generation part?
So you can, in order to get the results, you connect the MCP, and you can always get your own results, right? That could be something like, for example, typing the objective that you have. But if you want to use our own standards, we recommend using a skill that we have built. So if you go to Cloud, install our skill, then you can describe the objective, and Cloud will analyze the different skills available, and will say, oh, this intent for the user is quite similar to this skill. So let me pick this skill because the output is usually better, right? And you need to be a little bit careful. Anthropic has a really good job here because they are consuming a ton of usage inside their platform, right? So whenever you start playing a little bit with MCP, not related to SEO ranking or any tool in particular, but the thing that the model is thinking, it's consuming a lot of credits and a lot of usage inside the LLM, right? So you need to be a little bit careful, and the majority of us are on the max plan already in Anthropic, which starts being a little bit pricey, but the power that you get back, it's in terms of productivity, it's quite lifted, right? So we believe in SEO ranking that our own hours as humans are really priced as well, and are really scarce. So for that, we give ourselves a good amount of subscription from Cloud in order to not be blocked. So I would say, if you as a user in the SEO believe in a similar way as we do, I would say, let's not be blocked because of the Cloud subscription. Give yourself a nice subscription over there, and then you can execute all these workflows with the most powerful model and retrieve the best results.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the example you gave around content generation is even more powerful when you can take an MCP workflow and connect to tools like SE ranking, but you can also connect to web search as well, or provide other context of like your own brand. So from a content perspective, you can already feed it or get it to look into things like tone of voice. So you can either feed it sort of tone of voice or branding guidelines, or you can get it to just scrape your website or your blog and see how you write, what your writing style is, and then it can connect all of these things together. And like you sort of say, if you can go from start to finish in 12 minutes for a content piece, which may have taken a couple of hours previously, then you're already sort of seeing how much more efficient you are at producing content that is already going to have the SEO aspects, or the more accurate data implied and implemented as part of that workflow automatically, without you really needing to do anything. So that's a really good example there of what you shared. Is there anything that people should be maybe cautious of, or any sort of things to I guess avoid, or any top tips about using MCP, or just generally within these workflows? Because I know you touched upon on credits there from maybe Claude's or Anthropic's Claude's own perspective and their credit systems and usage, but any top tips in terms of utilizing MCP, or things to watch out for?
Yeah, so I would suggest the users and the audience to actually think the output is going to be as good as the model that you are using, right? For Cloud, probably we are talking about Opus 4.7 or 4.8, if that's out already. So we want to leverage the best model available, right, for the different LLMs, but at the same time we want the best quality of the data. Sometimes SE ranking is only half of the picture, right? sometimes our customers would like also to access Google Search Console, Google Analytics, right? Because this has a really good amount of data that they need in order to complement what we actually offer. So one thing, let's not be constrained by the number of tools, because in cloud you can plug in all of those tools, right? So I would recommend people to actually install Google Search Console. The setup is the worst. Okay, I have to be honest. It's because you need to handle all the permissions with the Google Search Console, the Google Cloud, the setup, creating new projects, handling the permissions, and so on. It's a little mess. I hope that Google is going to solve that in the near future. But once you get that sorted, you can retrieve all the information that you have on Google Search Console and Google Analytics using the API, and actually have that available as well in cloud. So pairing SE ranking with those two tools, it's amazing, because you understand how the audience is moving around your domain. You're able to understand which pages are consumed correctly, identify low-hanging fruits, and even better. So my recommendation is, let's not be afraid of putting several data sources together, right? We also recommend people to install Firecrawl. Firecrawl is a way to actually get HTMLs from the web as they stand. So that helps a lot as well. So with Firecrawl, Google Search Console, and SE ranking, those are the three tools that you need from a SEO perspective. And what is going to look the future? We believe it will be a library of skills, a set of MCPs that you have connected, and with those two things and a powerful LLM, probably you can do everything that you can imagine.
Yeah, and then eventually we don't need to do a thing, because we'll all just be on the beach or outside in the rain, depending on where you live, whilst the LLM assistants, AI assistants, will just be doing the work for everyone, right? So
I'm a little bit afraid of that, but yeah.
It's a fun thing to look forward to as well, right? But anyway, Guifre, really thank you so much for the insights today. Where can people find you if they want to ask any questions?
People can reach to me in LinkedIn. I'm available over there, Guifre Ballester. So yeah, that's a great way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you also for everyone listening out there as well, wherever you are. And as always, we will see you in the next episode.